tell those exact same stories again.
I have to.
Welcome.
I think we're all good. Okay, sweet. All right, welcome. Cold Pod, we have a special guest. Greg Benedetto.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for
Not
having
dead
me.
yet.
Yeah.
Shit. All the
Shit.
classics.
Oh, lots of garbage.
Lots of stuff to talk about. Somebody that I've known again for like a while through just like, going out and
It's
going to
funny. I
shows.
had this discussion. You know, Mansa.
Yeah.
It's out for Mansa's birthday recently,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, Mansa, I don't actually remember when we met. Like I know we've been friends for like 15 years or something, but like I'm so old now, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And she remembered that she met me when she was working at Urban Outfitters.
Well, that's funny. I met her when she was working at Urban Outfitters too.
Dude, if you go back and you look at like Urban Outfitters years ago, there's a web for sure.
Well, there's a web with like a lot of retail in Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I mean, like myself included for some stores we shall not name, but there's things that you like kind of like. I feel like when you're working retail specifically, especially when it's like a big like corporate retail kind of thing, you kind of have this camaraderie where like as soon as you find like the one person where you're like you don't actually dress like this here, like what do you like, you're just pandering to the American Apparel look or whatever.
I got sucked in on like some seasonal shit because like half of Toronto hardcore was like logging hours, and it was like, I need the money. All right, cool. And then you're like, oh, we're all friends now. We just like fuck around at work together.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like, so in the like kind of hardcore community, it's interesting because I feel like, and this is something that we were talking about this before you even got here.
Mm-hmm.
There's something funny about the fact that not everybody, but so many people, at least at some point in their life, have had some sort of angsty, usually hardcore, sometimes metal, whatever.
Hardcore
phase.
adjacent.
Yeah.
And it's like you can like spot them everywhere. It's not. It's like it can't really. It doesn't. Never goes away.
It's so wild to like from like the beginning of when I started doing shows to now. Like I remember like being in college and like if I was on Bloor Street and I saw somebody with like a black t-shirt and tattoos, I was like, I knew who that person was, or they were going to be my friend by next week. And then it like changed like after that to like, it was like that era of like growing up in the aughts, I think, where like people got so into subculture.
Yes.
So into subculture to now, like there is no mainstream subculture.
Yeah.
Mainstream culture.
Yeah, there is-
No,
just
there's no
subculture.
monoculture. Yeah.
Well, one could argue that by like dressing like, which is kind of like a whole thing with like the fashion of hardcore throughout history. But there's a kind of funny thing happening now in a sense where like, dressing down is kind of more punk than like, wearing docks and like, I don't know, any sort of like standard, patches and studs on your jacket, like whatever kind of thing.
Totally.
Oh, yeah.
It's like now it's like you see like a guy just with like a button down t-shirt and pants and you're like, wonder what that guy's into. It's probably some crazy
He's wearing a
shit.
flannel and
Well,
some
that's the
jeans.
thing. Everybody's into like weird shit. Everything's a subculture now. Everything's like a fandom. Everything's extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't be like half step into anything.
I know, but and how do you feel about that then with like booking shows? Sorry, I had like a whole list, but we're just going now, and I like this.
I mean, where do I start with that question? Like,
Is it easier or is it harder now to book, let's say, lineups?
I would say it's hard to maintain some degree of like integrity,
Right.
In the sense that like defining what makes what I do. Like what differentiate, like I'm not the only person who books events in the city. I'm not the only person who books hardcore shows. I don't want to be. Like I do believe that there's like merit to, not even merit. I think fundamentally a strong arts community is built on people's ability to participate at that level.
100%. Yeah.
I am way more stoked to hear about somebody who's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I always used to joke that like, I'll stop booking shows when somebody's like, fuck you, you're old. Stop booking this shit. And it's never happened. But it's like, I do really believe that. And then it's, as I've done it longer and longer, you run into different, like, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to book hardcore shows. And I have like my, puritanical idea of what that is and what that's not. And
Yeah.
because when you're in extreme music, that's kind of like the idea. It's like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
Everyone who's doing not this is a
Yes.
poser because they don't see it the way I see it. And you go on, and then you start to meet people with that mindset, and you realize, well, the person I thought was cool fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And the person who I thought sucks is actually cool.
Yeah.
And their beliefs are closer to mine. And then you start to like, that just is like a spiral outward.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly like confronting what is it about what I do that makes it what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just my own shit because I spend so much time on it. I don't think I don't know that necessarily anybody notices, and most people are just out for a party. But
I think they do notice.
No, I definitely
Okay.
think so.
I think they do, because at every event, every show, anything I've ever gone to, you knew it was a not dead yet thing. I knew it was you doing it, and I don't know exactly why or how. Like, I can't even quite pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But there's something that has to do with even things as far as like the venue choice. Like, there's things that just actually make going to see a band memorable versus being like, oh, I saw so and so at, I don't know, the Cool House. It's like, no, I saw them in this basement at blah blah blah.
huge, like, professional opinion. I honestly, like, one thing I always tried to do, like, at first I would just like book a show wherever somebody would let me have a show.
Right.
Like, I started booking shows at that place, Siesta Nouveau on Sherburne, like a long time ago.
I remember. I
And
remember that place.
I thought I was going to one of the spaces in there, and I just like found somebody's contact, and I wrote them, and they're like, yeah, you can come by. And I went in, and I was like, this is not the room I thought I was coming to see. And then I was like, would you let me do shows here? And that woman, Lynn, was like, yeah, of course. Cool. I do plays here, but you can do shows.
That's what it also. That's
Hardcore show one
she
night
did
and
like,
then
she would do like,
Shakespeare the next.
she did like DIY Romeo and Juliet, and it was like, I have a
Sick.
balcony, and she'd all the time she'd be like excited about this crazy idea she was gonna do. So, but she was like a true like I don't know, bohemian, I guess, in the sense that like she was always trying to like she wasn't actively going out and trying to facilitate things, but she was open to everything.
Right,
And
right.
and I just started doing shows there.
Yeah,
And then shows would get full, and I realized, the shows that are full feel better than the shows that are empty.
Yeah.
And so I've just tried to apply that logic forever, where it's like, okay, I think like 200 people are going to come to the show.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it at the Monarch, because the Monarch holds like 180 people.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then I've just always tried to like apply that logic of like, I want it to be just full enough
yeah.
that people are like, this is a vibe.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they can
yeah.
feel
There's
that
the
like
energy of all the
vibration in the
people.
room, as opposed to, it being half empty and people are like,
And you can feel it. You can always feel it when a venue's half empty. Like, you can just feel that, like, there's just the energy it dissipates. It's gone. It's just not there. Versus like being in a sweaty basement.
Well, it's just
or-
not as many people giving it,
It's-
and then as soon as one person's like mind turns on the subject, it's everybody's minds.
Yeah,
turns
exactly.
On
They're
the
just like,
subject.
well, I've had enough.
yeah, it's like that to me has always been like the simplest thing about it is like, try and get as many people in the room as would fit the room.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, because you can always squeeze a couple more.
Yeah.
You can always squeeze a couple.
Like,
always
you always
some
want to
wiggle room.
have a few people at the door being like, can I please get in? And you want to let them in. You don't want to turn anyone away.
I love that you're saying
We
this.
also want, yeah.
Because the last time I went to one of the shows at Expo, that shit was actually playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, like I didn't get a ticket in time, but like, friends, I can get myself in. And I remember like trying to talk to you. I was like, yo, like you're like, no one's getting in. And then Nick Marion walks in. He's like, come on in, Josh. But
That's an exception
They
because
always want to turn anyone around but you.
that was this is like I'm looking to my psyche. Doing shows at fucking DIY spaces is the most stressful thing.
Yes.
Because of the story I just told you.
Oh, right.
Is
yeah.
that like I've got like a fucking sixth sense for this shit, in the sense that I know there's no exits at Expo. That was the first show at Expo. We didn't know what the fuck was going to happen, and I guessed the capacity.
Yeah.
I was like, Nick, do you know what the square footage is? Because when you apply for a liquor license, it says you can have this many people based on the square footage.
yeah.
So it's like, Nick, do you know what the square footage is? He's like, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000. And it's like, that's a difference of like 150 people. So I was like, I'll sell this many and then see what happens.
Right.
Since then, we have increased the capacity
Okay.
Expo by about 50 people.
Good to know.
So, but it's just like I also didn't expect that show to sell it in 24 hours. So
Yeah,
I didn't know
mean-
what yeah. So
What else? Like, what other like differences between DIY and established venues?
Because you do both.
yeah, I've gotten really into doing a set. I always find it so funny that I'm in this position. I actually love putting on shows at the Velvet Underground these days.
Hell yeah.
And everyone who works there fucking rocks. It's like
Yeah.
actually fun. I have as much fun there as I do doing it at Expo in that
Right.
sense. You know what I mean?
Well, because it's also not even to say it feels like less work, but it's like you actually get to
It is.
delegate. I didn't want to say it, but the tasks have been delegated to industry professionals.
Yeah,
People who
exactly.
don't fuck around, which is great. Whereas, like, I have surrounded myself for many years with people who fuck around.
Like you're big, you can do security.
I myself fuck around. It's fun. Yeah, like, I still think you can capture that spirit in like a quote unquote real venue. But at this point, it's like I don't really like. I find it different most when I'm playing personally.
Right.
Is that like, if I'm on a stage that's like 3 feet tall, I'm like, where the fuck is the audience?
Yeah.
It's like I almost long for the frustration of someone pushing me into my guitar.
Yeah, I was gonna say someone unplugging.
Yeah, like, dude, we played in Mexico City at the beginning of the year, and the show was great, and people were like on stage and knocking shit over, and I'm used to like people knocking my shit over or stepping on my pedals or whatever. And this show was like particularly crazy, and I'm playing, and usually I'm not like aggressive with people on stage, but I'll kind of like nudge them off the stage. And this girl gets up on stage, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck is she doing? And I see that her like shoe is untied or it's come off. And she's like trying to get her shoe back on. I'm like, all right, I'll leave her alone. I'll let her get her shoe back on. And then she like goes to kneel down and immediately just like kneels on my delay pedal.
Like, no.
And that's what I'm used to. So I don't know. It's like there's a certain I like real shit. I don't like the like that like performance aspect of it. I want the like I'm not the kind of person that necessarily appreciates seeing someone like, don't get me wrong, like I appreciate theatrics and performativity, but I just feel like everyone enjoys it more when they feel like they're a part of the thing.
100%.
Well, yeah, because I feel like in a show like that, the audience is equally as important as the band.
Well, they're literally not on a pedestal.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
not on a pedestal.
Exactly.
That's like a friend sent me a meme the other day of like a still from The Office where they have like the stage and it's just like a couple of skids with a carpet on top of it, and the meme was like every hardcore guy's favorite venue. It's like, where's the stage? That's it.
That's it right
Perfect.
there. Yeah. But I actually saw because when you're talking about like stages that are high, could have sworn I saw you guys playing in Montreal at what looked like a very high stage.
Dude, that stage was like 6 feet tall or something. It was insane. And the security was out of hand. It was like, we played a pool.
Okay, that was actually a pool.
It was actually a pool, Bain Mathieu in like Hochelaga. It was like an actual pool, and that has been like repurposed for the arts.
Sick.
And
So Montreal.
yeah, it's so Montreal. It's like there's this like old building. First of all, it's an old building. Second of all,
torn
it's
down.
like been retrofitted from what it was to something new. It was fucking wild. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you play stuff like that. Like that's a thing that I think problem we run into now is that like we played Velvet at the end of December.
Yeah.
And it's like I enjoy watching bands play there. Playing there was like for me just like, well, what the fuck am I doing up here? I like gotta like move around and like
Well, yeah, you have all this space all of a sudden.
like
and you also feel very like naked and like exposed.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
that
it's-
would be the hard thing for
Like
me. Is
when you're playing and like someone is literally like an audience member is like literally shoulder to shoulder with you.
it's more fun.
Yeah, it's way more fun.
Yeah.
It's
more
way
fun.
it's way more fun. It's
So-
way more fun.
So in the whole like with all these like DIY venues and stuff, there's kind of like I've sort of drawn a bit of a lineage with you and Spaces. Siesta Nouveau would start,
Yeah.
then
The next one after Siesta was the Adrift
I
Clubhouse.
was just gonna say, okay, so Adrift Clubhouse, which oddly enough we've talked about on this podcast before, because a guest came on here, Marlo, and was like, I did the same thing. I was like, how do we know each other? Like we've known each other forever. How do we know? And she's like, I'll tell you exactly how we met.
Yeah.
We met at the Adrift Clubhouse at a Smithfits party,
That makes sense.
and that was true.
There was ones. So Scott approached me with the idea of Smithfits, and I was like, fuck that. I don't, because Scott was helping me with Stuck in the City back then. And like, I was like, I'm not fucking DJ. I don't do dance parties. Fuck that shit. Like being puritanical about it. I distinctly remember, no, maybe it was the No Age show, but there was like
I was at that.
Yeah,
I remember
there was
that.
No Age. I was like, I'm not going to that shit. And I like went and ate nachos at Sneaky D's.
But you put it on technically.
Well, I was at the Adrift Clubhouse was like a bunch of us. I think that was Pesci No Age.
Yes, it actually was.
That was Pesci No Age. But I remember like hanging out with Ryan and he was like, I'm gonna go to No Age. I was like, fuck you.
Wait, when was the shift from like being puritanical to not being?
or you just make it
it's been a long
Long
road,
process.
man. It's been a long road. Lots of therapy and shit. Yeah, I don't, like I said, you just do it more and then you realize, well, this thing, like, honestly, I remember like before the pandemic being like, fuck, I'm so, like these hardcore shows where like people just come and beat each other up. Like I'm so fucking over, and I'm still like, now I'm like, yeah, hardcore's back. It's fucking sick. Let's go.
I mean, it is.
It is. It's fucking wild. But I don't know. You just, you commit yourself to anything long enough, you'll get jaded at some point.
Yeah.
And I've committed myself in so many different directions that it's just like, you realize that it's just kind of
It's all just contradictions.
yeah,
kind
it's
of.
just like,
Like,
whatever.
why do I like this but not this?
I wanna enjoy the time I spend with people and spend with music and all that stuff. So it's like the like, but I was a fucking dick. Like for sure, I was like the amount of shit I was just like, fuck that, fuck this.
I kind of remember you being a dick back in the day.
Oh, I must have been.
You probably hated my old band.
No, I mean, it's not that it's like you're talking about little girls.
You probably did.
No, I didn't. It was just like one of those things where it was like I saw little girls a few times, but it was like not my thing.
Yeah.
It was very much like, no, I was so, it's like the folly of youth. It's like, I think if I identify with this thing, like I always make the connection of like, so I really love music. Music has led me to a lot of things. It's opened a lot of doors for me in my life in terms of like enjoyment and relationships. I can go to a lot of places and have a really good time because of relationships music
Yes. Yeah.
has created for me. And in the city.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be like open to things.
Yeah.
And you like I keep going back to this, but it's like the longer you do something, the more you realize that the thing you're looking for isn't actually the thing that you want to find, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's
I always connected in the sense that like I struggle to find people older where I'm like, oh, it's great that person still really loves hardcore.
Right.
Like I could waste your time talking about like a very
legend.
specific genre of New York hardcore from like the summer in 1985 to like the fall of 1987. But it's like, what is like, it's not what's the point. I love that. There's a certain fanaticism about it, but it's like, there's also this other side of it where it's like, that's not what I'm interested in.
It's just a part of it. It's not the entire thing.
Right.
But when you're like being puritanical about things, you're like, this is it. This is the only thing. Dude, I was fucking listening to CBC on the way over here and they're talking about Northern Soul. And I'm like, you know, all the Northern Soul stuff I've heard, I really like, but I've never spent time with them.
Yeah.
And it's because for years, I was like, I need to hear every fucking stupid cassette that's ever come out in North America.
I kind of wish I could dedicate myself to something that much.
Well, because
I feel like I don't have like, I've always wished I could be like a part of like it, or like be a kind of guy, and I haven't been able to do that.
Well, the interesting thing I would say is when I think about it. So like we were talking about this a little bit earlier. but how everybody has a phase. Everybody's had some sort of phase, and not to be like you're a hardcore lifer, but I don't even mean that in a negative way. But it's like, you've weaned out those that you maybe grew up with who were as into it as you were, and then you're kind of like, but the dedication to that is fun. It's like,
all your friends leave also.
That's what I
like.
mean.
That's the other thing. It's like, it's not just that like, oh, I've like found my way out of this or whatever. I've done it for a long time. You realize like it's all fleeting for most people.
Yes.
All music shit is fleeting for most people.
Well, most people don't even listen to like anything. And when I say new, I don't mean new as in new music that's been created recently, but new as in the music discovery aspect.
Yeah, they like what they like, and
people usually quit at like 25.
Yeah,
dude. One thing that has blown my mind, like in this era of promoting things, and like I have like a business account for the Not Dead Yet Instagram, so I get the insights.
Oh yeah, we got those too.
Oh yeah, but for music, it's so fucking depressing. Pardon me. This Lark water is very refreshing.
Shout out to our sponsors at Lark for sending us a couple cases today. I'm half kidding, but they did send them.
Like, fuck. What was I saying? This
Lark water's fucking
Lark water
is throwing up our game.
We're gonna have to edit this.
Yeah, don't worry.
The insights.
Yeah.
The fucking insights. So if you like, when I look at my insights, there's two, I would say, terrifying statistics.
Okay.
One, women get into music younger than men. Like women are paying attention at a younger age, and there is a steep fall off.
Really?
Yeah. Like, and I don't know if that's just hardcore or what, but I've seen it as like, yeah, of course, women get into music. They come to these shows. They meet these fucking idiots, and they're like, "Fuck this."
I need to get the fuck out of here.
Or it's just like also an unwelcoming environment.
Right.
In general. The other thing is that like a fucking cliff, 34.
Really?
People disappear.
That's so
Really?
interesting.
Yeah, like the biggest spike.
Is this my last year, guys?
I wrestled with it.
Am I done? No. Just
No,
because.
but it is like it's funny to think about it in that way, and I never had. Like I never, and like even setting up I don't even remember if the Not Dead Yet Instagram was like something someone else set up as a joke. But I was like, I'm not setting up a fucking Instagram. Fuck that. I'm not setting up a Twitter.
Well,
Fuck
I was
that.
even surprised when I saw that Shit had an Instagram.
That's new.
I
That's
was like, damn, these guys sold out.
Yeah. But dude, it's like this is like there's a real part of me that enjoys, like, one of the things of enjoyment I get out of this is like the cultural anthropology of it, where it's like trying to think about like where are things going, like to your point, like youth culture is fleeting. Like you get into something and you get out of something, and a lot of people kind of move on from the thing that defined them in their youth.
Right. But do you not think that sort of the one maybe historically lucky aspect of hardcore is the fact that that's never going to go away? So you're
It
always
seems
gonna,
to always appeal to a new generation. Every single
or at the very least extreme music, let's just say something that's not just,
Well, it is like it's a real subculture
Yeah.
that is like a subculture, and a lot of people gravitate towards it and then identify with it. And I think especially, like, we could talk about like the hardcore boom after the pandemic and what caused it, but it's like I think people really identify and connect with like that kind of music, and there's such a wide swath of like really human music, like music made by people that is like passionate, and like the subject matter is so wide and varied, but like real. And so it's really easy when people were like kind of disconnected in the pandemic to go back to the thing that made them feel something.
No, and this is completely true.
Yeah.
This is like at that very, like, again, not to keep talking about old episodes of our podcast, but we have one that we've mentioned a couple times here. When Melissa Vincent was on, we also talked about it, but it was an episode we called Rejuvenation, and it was literally recorded, I guess, the day after that
the
show,
shit show, yeah.
at Expo.
Oh,
the shit friction.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, and then I called it Rejuvenation because like in the episode the whole time just talking about how like alive I felt and like back I felt and how much I had missed like, you know, and you know me, like I've dabbled in and out of like playing in bands and like going to shows, but also like electronic music and other stuff. But like I had missed seeing bands live more than I even realized until after the show. And like to like actually be like sweaty and dirty and a little roughed up. And like I was moshing. I don't mosh, but I had to get in there just a little bit just to like, and it was like that boom was like it makes sense because we all needed to feel something that was like physical.
Yeah, to literally crush bodies up against other bodies.
Yeah, just like we didn't have that.
Yeah.
You know, this has finally sparked in like in my head one of those moments where I was like started to shed some of that Puritanism.
Yeah.
Is I distinctly like, because I was like a teenager when Fucked Up was like the coolest thing in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I remember once Damien said something either in an interview or we were talking or something where he was like, a Justice show is 100 times crazier than any hardcore show.
Damn.
And I was like, what? What? Dude, I've seen Hatebreed. No, it's not. But like,
and I've seen Throwdown.
Yeah. But then like, that was one of those things when I was like 19 that was like, wait a second, what do you mean? And it starts to like change you see the shit, like the films that Romain Gavras did for them, and you're just like, well, fuck. This shit is intense.
Yeah. Well, it just shows that there's more and different ways to feel the same thing, you know?
And that thing, like I said, like I'm kind of weirdly on this quest to figure out what it is that I actually like about all the shit that I like. And it is this sort of like the humanity of it. Mm-hmm. Like, what is it about, you know, one record of one genre versus another record of one genre that makes one more human than the other? Mm-hmm. Like, and I think more than anything, it's like I'm interested in music that like tries to believe in a future, right, or like believe in its own existence for the sake of its own existence. Right. Like there's this one record I wrote about at the end of last year by like this Swedish like folk artist that he's released a bunch of records under the name Blod. And
under the name what, sorry?
Blod. BLOD.
Blod.
Which I think just means blood.
Sick.
And he put out a record last year called Pilgrim Songer, and it's literally like Swedish church songs.
Yeah.
But I was just like walking the dog and listening to it, and it's like, this record's fucking cool. And it's like, you know, somebody's playing like a fucking kazoo and like, sick. Like, it's just like, I don't know if it's actually a kazoo on the record, but it's like, it's just very like ramshackle. It literally, it's church songs. It's like people that are, it's like he's arranged these songs to be played with like friends and compatriots that it's like the most DIY thing. It's like, it's like literally, like church music is literally just people making music because they believe something.
For the actual act of believing.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
and I was like, how do I go from fucking Hatebreed to this? And I'm like, it's that like somebody believed that they wanted to do this thing.
Yeah.
And when they believe it intensely enough, great shit happens. Yeah. And that's like, that can be applied to fucking any genre.
100%.
I think there's a certain like anonymity about hardcore bands too, that like it doesn't seem, hardcore bands don't seem to try to appease that many people because they're just doing what they're doing and they have their fan base, and they also don't care as much about like the existence of them outside of the show itself, you know. Like for hardcore, all like it's really just about them performing. Like we were talking about, we wanted to start a hardcore band where we'd never put anything online. You know? We never did that.
Plenty of those,
but like we just, you know, and that's not like an insane thing for hardcore, but it is insane for like almost every other genre.
Because it's like literally, it exists only because you want it to, and if other people like it, that's like great. Like it was like innate to hardcore because it was so abrasive for so long, and then like that abrasiveness got like consumed to the point that it is now where like it's pop music in a lot of cases. But there's all these different modes that kind of apply to it, and people also like want something they can't find.
Exactly.
Like that was a huge thing in the aughts. Like people would name their bands fucking weird shit you couldn't Google.
Yeah.
And then that would make them cool somehow, and people would want their record because they couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like there's the forced obscurity aspect of it, but it's, I don't know, now like it shifts constantly. It has shifted 100 times since I started doing shows, and I don't know, like I have always just tried to maintain like some openness to like where it's going, instead of being like it needs to be this. It's more about like, what future do I want to see? Like I wrestled with a long time, like about, I don't know, it must have been like 10 or 11 years ago, where people started to like pay attention to the diversity of bills, which like growing up was not like, I grew up in Brampton. So like, I wouldn't say it was normal, but it's like I was certainly like playing music with like people of color, and like it was just like part of the world I existed in. And then over time, I kind of noticed it going away, and then all of a sudden people were talking about it, and then I started to like look around at the bands I was listening to and the bands I was booking. It's like, it's not that there wasn't, but it was like the bands that were becoming popular were like not representative.
Right.
And that also like challenged the genre boundary, where it's like, well, there's definitely music out there that I enjoy and am interested in that isn't just made by white dudes, and isn't just guitar music, and isn't just, and then you start to think about, well, what message am I trying to put out there? And if the idea is that like anyone can make a thing that can challenge something or like challenge themselves, then I can book anything.
Right. Because I even remember noticing kind of a bit of a, not even a shift, but just seeing, I want to say maybe like 2015, 14.
That's probably around when
it was just, it was like, I would see, like even just like I'm talking even just like sound wise too, but it would things started to progress even into the idea of there being, punk bands playing with like kind of like not minimal wave, but like, like just kind of like
synthesizers were around.
The synths kind of made a bit of a splash all of a sudden.
Right. But dude, like you think about it, it's like that's also around when people were able to start cracking Ableton pretty easily, and like start doing that shit. Like, and when we get so like in the weeds into music, you kind of like miss those technological shifts too. Like, it's like technology has pushed things in a certain way. But it's not to say that like electronic music wasn't around, but it certainly like has definitely since then like
it's
phenomenal.
It's almost hard to find music that isn't at least somewhat electronically based now.
There's some things in there, but and also just the fact that like with I think like electronic music was at one point such, it was very gatekeeper in the sense that like you had to have the gear. I make electronic music. I still don't know shit about synthesizers, and like dude, I'm okay with that.
There's a whole other dimension to that, which is traveling and touring with a band now is just a fucking nightmare financially. Like that. Like I have all sorts of opinions on that, but that was certainly something I noticed like in the mid 2010s, where it's like, oh, if you're one guy with a laptop and some synthesizers, and you can play to 150 people, that's a decent living. If you're a band playing to 150 people, that sucks.
Well, that's the thing is I've always made the joke about like my music career shifting from 5-person band to 2-person band to solo artists because. And I hate to.
Well, you can show up with a USB stick.
Not even the USB stick. I mean, it's pretty sweet. No, but I mean, like, but the idea of just like playing that same show to that same, that same amount of money for performing at the same club, you get the money for yourself. And it's not about not wanting to share, but it's about it actually just not being enough to make it to the next city.
It's just not financially viable. It just isn't. And people still do it, and I think that is another charm of like DIY music, is that like you can see a band that's actually like intense and it's a visceral experience seeing a number of people play their instruments together. It can be.
But I think what's cool too about this whole DIY thing is also the network. So I feel like what is important is like a lot of these bands aren't going to be doing the typical like tour you see that whatever blah blah band on Sub Pop is doing, and it's just like all the cities. It's like, no, you can pick and choose ones that actually have like communities that foster the music.
It also becomes much more locally focused too.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
playing a bunch of shows in your own city. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, big tours come through, and like they don't want a local, or they don't want two locals on the bill. They just like want you to put the show on. They want to be able to collect their money and
leave.
Well, but the reality is that that's also what big audiences want.
Right.
Like
right.
that's the more like
Yeah.
upsetting
Yes, it's very
part
true.
of doing bigger shows is that like
You're opening for so and so, but people also might show up after your set. On
people
purpose.
are going to actively try and find out the set time so they can miss you.
It's true though. It's true.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. And like I mean, the worst part is that like I never want to be that person, but I do. I'm not gonna say what the name of the band was, but I went and see this band that I really like.
If you tell us the band that you really like, we'll be able to figure out who the
All
opener
right, I'll tell you who the band is. I won't say the opener, but I went to see that band Dry Cleaning, and
Yeah.
I really liked the record, loved the show.
Yeah.
Could have missed the opener, just to be totally honest with you. Would have been mad if I missed that opener. Wasn't into it.
But
Wasn't very good.
That's like it's also a different experience, right? Because when you're seeing a band like Dry Cleaning, you're seeing a band that's like got like an hour live set.
Yeah.
There's no breaks in it, and like I also think at a certain age you're entitled to being like, I'm not gonna go see.
Yeah, right.
And you also just like, it's after a certain age, you're on your feet.
I use so many like psychological justifications for the music I avoid. It's wild. Like I will post, like I try so desperately hard to like keep up on like new music in the city, and like not just new music in the city, new music anywhere.
Yeah.
And I try and like focus on like things that are regional, where it's like it's connected to something I already know. And it's the amount of crap I listen to like try and find something where it's like, this rocks, I want to put on for this.
Yeah.
Is actually staggering.
No, it's not. It's always gonna, but I think it's always been that way.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in fact, it's you're probably just listening to more because you can find it easier.
That's
like, imagine
it,
having
for
to
sure.
like, buy a couple CDs and hope for the best.
Yeah. Dude, I legit have hundreds of tabs open. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it's something. But yeah, I don't know. Music discovery is fun.
It is fun. No, and that's the thing is I think it's important to, if you really care, to never let it go. Like people, will like kind of not make fun of me, but joke about me being like you've heard, you like they'll mention something like, you've actually heard this, and I'm like, yeah, of course I've heard it. I had to know what all the fuss was about.
I've heard more than I'm wanted to.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same. I wanted to also talk a little bit then about when we're talking about this sort of like post-pandemic hardcore. Mm-hmm. I've noticed that tough guy hardcore is back.
Tough guy hardcore's back.
It's back.
Because when I was really into certain bands and whatnot when I was in high school, I had the kind of, I at one point it was towards the end of my era, mm-hmm. was when I got into like tough guy hardcore, and I was listening to like Madball and Terror and like all that stuff.
The good shit.
And then I was like, I'm done with this. But it's funny, not done with it. I'm not even talking shit, but I'm just saying that like at that point I was like, I'm done with this. And it was honestly a sect of hardcore that I never thought I would even remotely appreciate again.
Mm-hmm.
Until I saw Friction.
And Friction is like toughish.
Yeah, fair, but still pretty. I mean, the thing is that like your ability to experience something has shifted. Yes.
Like I remember seeing, I went to see No Warning and Ringworm in Hamilton in 2003.
Damn.
And it was the first time I ever saw either band. And I distinctly remember during the Ringworm set, some guy in the pit took a beer bottle and smashed it over his own head. And that was just a Ringworm set. The No Warning set was even crazier. And I remember like just seeing that happen and thinking like, what the fuck? Like, and I had been going to hardcore shows for like a couple years at that point. It's like, what the fuck? So now I'm much older than that. And so when I see shit at a show, like I'm completely on the other side of it. Whereas like, 5 or 6 years ago, if somebody was being an idiot in the pit, I was like, I would be the old guy that would run in, grab them, and be like, you fucking do that, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Get the fuck out of my show. And now I do that stuff, and then afterwards I just like feel so much internal sadness. like I'm just like, I'm too. It's like that Danny Glover moment. I'm like, I'm too old for this shit. But it's also like you think the things that you would like, you listen to it, you're like, that this is like heavy hardcore, but like I know the people, so it's like, it's not that. It's not that. These are all these people are really nice.
Like, I'm sure they all were really nice.
Like,
they were all really nice.
That's the crazy thing about hardcore is like how nice the people actually usually are.
Yeah.
Despite the music that is somewhat violent or whatever.
Yeah.
It is
fucking violent.
Tough guy hardcore is definitely back.
You heard it here first, people.
It's weird. It's because but it makes sense, right? Because hardcore has, as long as it's existed, maintained itself as like this like outsider track. And I think especially when like a band like Turnstile can go from like playing to 70 people in Toronto to playing to like 3,000 people in Toronto, can and like their crowds are so like loving and diverse, and that's like the vibe that band puts out there, is that like this is like a celebration, not a fucking massacre,
right?
and so like if that's how the mainstream's feeling, like hardcore has always been that counterpoint of being like, but no, the world is actually much harder than that, so I must be hard too,
right? Or at least here's my outlet for those feelings. Aggression that I have, and
But it all always goes in waves. I heard somebody describe a band today as Vice Magazine CMJ After Show.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, check my watch, and I was like, it is about that time.
Damn.
Like everything does shift. Like Meet Me in the Bathroom just came out.
I know.
Like,
I know.
we're back, baby.
I know. It's literally all, and it's
almost time for that Little Girls reunion.
I got asked, and I said no.
Wait, what?
I did. I was like, no. But
you got to catch everybody before they turn 34, bud.
that's true.
Almost running out, man.
This would actually be the last year to pull it off.
Yeah, it really would.
But the tough guy thing is always funny to me because like it really, like when you get into it, you really get into it.
Oh yeah.
And I mean that in the sense that I remember when I was younger, I guess this would have been pre-YouTube, so I don't even know how I found this. But I found the trailer for the Hellfest DVD, which I then ordered online and probably still have in my parents' basement. But that was like, No Warning are in that.
Oh yeah.
Who else is it?
You can't see this on the podcast, but my horns are up.
And like, but that was also such a like seminal DVD for me in a sense, because like it also exposed me to the weird shit. Like the Locust are on that, and that was when I like went in like a whole other direction. At
Some
one
of
point.
the shit that would happen in the 90s, like, and this was kind of like the angle when I was booking Not Dead Yet, is like if you look at fests now, I've had to think a lot about hardcore fests in my life. If you look at like the average hardcore fest right now, it's very fucking one dimensional.
Right.
There is like one band or two bands that like you get like a pop punk band, and then this band that's kind of doing like converged kind of squee hardcore a little bit, but for the most part it's like very much one thing. And back then like there was such a diversity of like the kind of hardcore there could be.
And that's why that DVD like spoke to me so much, is like I didn't know that. I don't know, seeing them all on one stage just proved in a sense, or at least in my like young brain, that these guys are all peers and they're all making different versions of extreme music. And they're all kind of fucking with each other, and I would say they were, because like there's no like, you don't really see any sets where no one's not into the band, except for maybe like Thursday.
And there's but like the bands back then, like people used to take selling out so much more seriously.
True.
Like if you were a band that like thought yourself important of that milieu, you got your fucking ass kicked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people were that much more like damaged. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like they took it out on each other.
No, I mean that's the thing that I also again would have been after my time, but I always have talked to people who were involved in the scene when they were younger, and like there's always the sort of talks of the sort of the fights that happened.
Oh yeah.
Outside.
I want to know about this.
Dude, there's there are stories I could tell of like myths about things that I wasn't even like privy to, that they were just like part of the lore I picked up in going to shows.
Yeah.
Like maybe when the mics are off.
But the truth is that they were not helpful peers of each other. Is that is that the general idea? Or they were, but only to a degree?
Somebody was always antagonizing somebody else is the best way to say it. Is that like, because again, it's like it's a collection of fucking misfits. It's like and to say it's misfits, it's like no, it's kids with fucking problems, whether they're like problems at home or problems in their heads or like fucking shit they just haven't figured out, like adolescence. I don't know, but it like bursts forth out of people and it fucking hits other people. It's just wild. It's just wild. Like every now and like I used to do dumb shit all the time. And now I see people do dumb shit and I'm like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Like someone at that gel show jumped off the fucking thing and I was like, I'm going to go to jail. Two, this person's going to fucking kill themselves at a gel show.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, like
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Don't risk it.
Yeah. But it's, at the same time, it's like that chaos that makes it hardcore.
Mm-hmm. I know, that's the thing. That's the weird give and take about it. Like you don't want dumb shit like that to happen, but that's also what creates the atmosphere. You know?
And like I willingly invite it. Like,
I mean, that's why some of these shows are at places that they're not at the Velvet Underground. Some of them.
Dude, I did see someone at a show at the Velvet Underground that I did in like September, October, I forget when it was. They jumped off the stage, just a regular stage dive, and they like dove so far there's like a bulkhead like to the left of the stage and just dove like head first into the bulkhead. And I was just like, oh my god.
But there's that element of danger that I think is like really important for like almost like even a city. Like even cities need an element of danger.
It just always it's I think it's inherent to it even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
There's always an outer edge.
Yeah.
There is
there
always
Yeah.
And it's like and
it's still relatively controlled too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's like
controlled in the sense that it's like, it's
the thing
contained.
is that like, and I mean, this ends up being at least a little bit political, but it's just fucking people.
Yeah.
Like it's just
This is
people,
who we
and
are,
all people do is try and like, for the most part, most people are just trying to take care of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a couple psychopaths out there, but
Yeah.
like for the most part, the vibe at one show, like in terms of taking care of each other, is not. It gets worse. In more mainstream venues.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it
Yeah.
just
Yes.
does
100%.
because people feel entitled to that space. When
Yeah.
you go into a DIY space, most people enter that space with some degree of reverence. With like, this is a privilege for me to be here, and I know that these things aren't easy to happen, and like. So even when I like give people shit, like I have never, ever, ever in a DIY space been like seen someone doing something they shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I've been like, hey, what the fuck? And they've been like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
But that's why I think like the DIY element of it provides that or supplements that feeling of danger. So then the people going don't have to make the danger up, you know? Whereas you go to like a nice clean show at Scotiabank Arena or something, like you maybe not that size, but like you want to evoke danger.
Yeah, well, you want to fuck it up.
You know, you want to fuck it up. You want to do something. It's a weird human instinct.
And then the other aspect too is like, community.
Yeah.
And I say that in the sense that like, I remember going to shows for years and like, you'd bring like a friend or a girlfriend or someone who's just like never been around that before. And they're like, oh my God, that pit's crazy. Yeah. Someone gets, pummeled to the ground. And then immediately people start lifting them back up.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody they're not trying to kill each other.
Yeah. Somebody gets like their face smashed. They're bleeding everywhere. And like 10 people are trying to help them.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're in a real venue, it's like you're dealing with security and everyone else is just like, ugh.
They're like, oh, get me
I don't
want
want to get involved.
Yeah.
But like, again, it's like there's a certain communal aspect to this like idea of being outside of what is deemed acceptable.
Yeah.
And it's anarchy, really.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
that is what it is.
Yeah.
But like it's this idea that, you know, community can persist. And like when I say community, I mean like a certain level of care for the other people around you can exist. You don't need a fucking state apparatus to be like, be a good person.
And I feel like the state apparatus makes people less likely to like support their community, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's already taken care of by some other force.
It's alienating.
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Like,
yeah.
So then let's talk about this phone number now. This hotline.
it's not really a hotline.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have not called it.
You can't call it. It's just so I can harass you with SMS messages.
Okay, so that's all it is.
That's all it is. Though so in the 90s, there was like a Toronto hardcore hotline.
Okay.
That was like somebody set up a phone number.
Yeah.
And you could call that phone number, and when you called it, you would get an answering machine, and that answering machine would like read out the upcoming shows.
Yeah.
Like who's Emma and like whatever. So when I set that up, people were like, "Oh, hardcore hotline." I was like, No.
Oh, because I feel like you must have played into it a little, because even I kind of was like, damn, he really did that.
Well, no, what it really is an effort for me to like try and get away from
the Instagram.
Yeah.
No,
and I've been doing it long enough to know like Instagram's days are numbered to some degree. Like I've had this discussion with Dan Burke, who you should definitely have on the show.
I know. I've asked him, and he said yes. We're just waiting.
I've had this discussion with Dan where Dan's like, "You're gonna put up a Facebook event?" I was like, "Dan, if I put up a Facebook event, absolutely zero more people are gonna go."
Yeah.
Nobody in the age range of like fucking 17 to 34 is on Facebook anymore. Like it's just not a thing. That's not how people find out about things.
Yeah.
Anybody who's on Facebook complaining about where are the things,
they're on the
weren't
wrong
going to
platform.
come anyways.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the natural order of shit. Like things come and go.
Yeah.
And so like part of the whole text message thing is that like I'm trying to figure out a way to get away from Instagram and the trappings of like technology, and also like try and keep it more like, again, like more human. Like that, like we live in a world now where like if you're a half decent graphic designer or you make funny memes, it's like you're in charge now.
Yeah, that's all.
and everybody else is just like victim to like whatever you're selling, you know, and
which is nothing.
yeah. So it's a fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's a really weird time to be like, it feels, I don't know, it's like that fucking Mark Fisher capitalist realism.
Yeah.
Like there is no alternative other than like buy my shit.
Yeah.
So just constantly trying to figure out a way beyond that. I'm like, I don't know, I've created my own personal hell.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
But do you, so to like, because we've talked about this a couple times, but like, you know, I feel like what's tough about this is, you know, Facebook was at one point kind of the best way to do things as far as like pushing it. So it's like, I have the utmost respect for you for trying something new with this like SMS text thing, because like it's getting harder and harder to promote the algorithm is all fucked. Certain things don't promote. You have to pay for things now to just even get eyes on them. It's like, it's fucked. So it's like, how do you do it?
I like, that's why I like set up the SMS thing. 'Cause it's like, ultimately I don't want to fucking force my shit on anybody who like doesn't want it to be. And I also don't want to fucking pay Facebook for ads.
Yeah, no.
So it's like,
not.
Also, when I see a Facebook ad for an event, I'm like, that's probably lame.
Yeah.
oh, nobo's buying
That
tickets for
says
this.
sponsored on top. Like, I'm not fucking going.
Like,
to that.
No.
So and further, like, if you're familiar with like the technological aspect of it, Facebook ads are a fucking scam.
Yeah.
Like nobody's going to see your Facebook ad. You don't know how to target it. You don't know, like every other fucking major corporation is paying Facebook millions and billions of dollars to not show them your ad.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like there's only so many eyeballs. Yeah. So the whole that whole fucking game is rigged. And it's like, well, what if there's like this one-to-one thing where you just like opt in and I tell you like, and people don't want a fucking mailing list.
Yeah.
Like not everybody checks their emails or goes to spam or whatever, but you could sign up for fucking text. And if you want to know about what shows are coming up, I'll text you and let you know what shows are coming up. And that's literally, and you can come or not. Like maybe there'll be a link to buy tickets, but like that's it. And it's just like, again, it's like more human than fucking. Yeah, you can sign up, and when I announce a show, I'll send you a text message. Like, hey,
that's it.
The show's coming up.
Well, I will do it. But I also do end up seeing most of them on Instagram, which is like, I guess because I've engaged with your page enough.
Thank you for your engagement.
It pops up pretty early on my stories feed.
But it's all this shit is like so fucking pervasive, and I'm just interested in getting away from it as best as I can. Just because I don't, it is in fundamental opposition to like what I believe. It's why everything feels the same. Right. It's why that feels like everything is a subculture and nothing is a subculture.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's also like another weird thing where it's like, I could post something the day of and it might sell as many tickets as if I posted it like fucking
weeks ago.
Yeah.
You actually just don't know.
Right. When the events that we've had have like, sometimes it's been like I guess it's been different, but there's been events that we've had where it's been like a month with no interaction, and then we post like, almost like, it's
or like 2 days away, and they're like,
and then they buy them all that day. It's like wait,
dude, it's fucking it's a very very strange time, and I'm trying to get back in the habit of like posters and flyers, and that's just like, well, it used to be like you put the poster up at the record show because that's where all the people who like music go is to the record store, and then the fucking Venn diagram of people who go to record stores and like people who go to shows are like just me.
Oh yeah, no, it's we've now gotten to a point where like the record collector or avid like listener and someone who purchases records is honestly doing that to like. So that they don't have to go to the show.
It's like, this is how I support the band now.
I buy the record.
So
when we were going through the list of venues and whatnot, we were at the Adrift Clubhouse.
So what's your timeline on?
So then my timeline, the next one in my mind would maybe be Sheebie-Jeebies.
Yeah, because we like kind of went back. There was a Drift Clubhouse that ran for like 6 months. Then we went back to a Drift
in Kensington.
Or no, then we went back. Sorry, we went back to Siesta Nouveau.
Okay.
And then, because the Adrift Clubhouse was like maybe 6 months.
Oh, I know, but it was such an iconic time.
Oh yeah,
like it was also the biggest of probably out of all of the spaces.
I feel like Sheebie-Jeebies was bigger.
You know what? As I was saying that, I'm thinking that you're probably right, but I think because I was just like,
when you're younger, the bands are tougher and the venues are bigger.
Exactly. Baby. I actually think that like my like 18-year-old self was probably like, this place is fucking massive.
Yeah. Like it was the 2 rooms, and there was enough room that you could like skateboard in the one room, and then the room where the shows happened in
was like also a half pipe, right?
Was there a half? Yeah, there was a mini ramp in there. That was the mini ramp and the fucking box were in the bigger or the longer room, and then there was the room where the shows were in. I think it held like 200 or so people, maybe like 220.
Yeah,
and God bless Lindsay Westfall and her crazy ideas.
Classic spot. So then Sheebie-Jeebies.
Sheebie-Jeebies was after.
That was on Geary.
That was
classic spot.
Geary, you're welcome.
Honestly, you are right.
I actually had a funny interaction. So like I'm always like,
you were the first.
There was actually one other space on Geary at the time, Geary Lane, and there was this dude named Jay who was doing like the odd like experimental show in there, and we were kind of around at the same time. I definitely did like probably like 30 or 40 shows at Sheebie-Jeebies.
Yeah,
and it was crazy.
It was sick.
It was the most crimes I've done in a small amount of time. Like in that like is the most concentrated
criminal activity.
Yeah.
Legendary space. Then I guess after, did you have something to do with Faith Void?
I didn't have something to do with Faith Void.
No.
Common myth.
Okay.
No, Faith Void. So like there was an idea. What was it that happened? If I remember the sequence of events correctly, Ryan got laid off from his job.
Okay.
And he like was turned on to this grant through Carrie Butt, I think.
Okay.
that was like basically like, if you lost your job, you can go to school and we'll teach you how to like run your own business. So he like signed up for that. And the idea was that to make rent at Sheebie-Jeebies, what we're going to do is like basically put a storefront in front of it.
Right.
And then the reason Sheebie-Jeebies got shut down, I love telling this story because fuck Stuart Berman.
Okay.
We've never met face to face, but I will carry this grudge forever. He was going to write a piece about Geary in the Toronto Star.
Okay.
Like that it was like it's a happening place for the arts.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to go on the record for any of this stuff. Please fucking do not do this. Keep my name out of it.
Yeah.
And he like mentioned the space and said I wasn't willing to comment. And it was within like 6 weeks that every space on that street that was like doing something was served. Not even rated by the cops, served a bylaw violation.
Really?
Which was basically like, you can't do this here.
Fuck.
Like not like beyond like if the AGCO says you can't get a license, a certain type of license, you can still figure out a way to get a license.
Yeah.
A bylaw violation is like, there's the only people that can fucking change a bylaw are condo developers. There's no fucking way around, like, because we're violating the zoning bylaw.
Yeah.
So they were, and now there's all sorts of people with all sorts of money up on Geary Street, like,
Yeah, like moving and shaking.
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Laid the groundwork.
Wow.
No, but it was like, and it was all because of that fucking article.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ryan was going to do a store in the front, and that kind of was going to like subsidize the rent. We're like, okay, we're going to do like this little store, and then we'll have the venue in the back. We'll fix the place up, and it'll become like a little bit more like, not that it wasn't legit. Like we were doing shows, people were coming. It was.
Sorry, this is Faith Void.
This was this was Sheebie-Jeebies.
Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
And then when the bylaw violation came, I was just like, our landlord was like, we can help you try and figure it out. And I was like, in my head, like I do believe that everything is impermanent, like especially with DIY music. Like once you become an institution, then you're an institution and you can't be that thing anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like there has to be something in opposition to you. It's for, if your music community is healthy, there will be something in opposition to you. And so I was just like, and I was also fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
Like shows there on weeknights would start at like 9 or 10 p.m., go until like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
By the time I would get home, it was like 2 or 3. And that was like on a weeknight.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to get up in the morning and like go to work.
Yeah.
So I was like fucking beat. And I was just like, you know what? I'm out.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'm done. I'm good. And Ryan was like, well, maybe I'm still going to do this like store thing. And I was like, cool, man. You do a store. I'll put shows on there. Like,
yeah, I'll help you out.
and that was the Faith Void era, is that like Ryan stepped up and he like did his store. And that was from like 2015 to 2018 or 19.
Yeah, I definitely went there a couple times.
Yeah. And it lasted way longer than Sheebie-Jeebies. Like Sheebie-Jeebies was a year and a half. I think like the last show was like October 2015.
Sheebie-Jeebies is only a year and a half? Interesting.
Max.
I thought it was felt like it was longer.
The first show was like April 2014.
Okay.
And it only existed long enough for there to be one Not Dead Yet festival.
Okay.
Because we did like a pre-show and an art show there and stuff like that. And yeah, so it lasted like a year and a half, maybe.
Damn.
And then Faith Void was like 2015 to 2018 or 19.
And then the pandemic. No, then you also had, hold on, there's one more.
What was the other one?
There's the spot that, I mean, I feel like this might have just been a one-off, but it was at like, what was it at? It was like DuPont and like Dundas West.
DuPont, Dundas West.
There was a shitmas there.
Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
That wasn't me though. That was like, I did the show there. That was a couple people who like, again, independent theater company. They had a space there.
That's the secret, it seems like.
Yeah.
To find a DIY space.
Yeah, that's
like,
true
we're
integration
all-
of culture too.
We're all like independent artists just
Yeah.
trying to make the city fucking work for us, right?
Yeah.
And they had this space and we did a shipments there, and like I was like jacked on that space. I was like, I'm gonna do so much shit here. This is like the perfect. This is like is like a black box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was about the size as Expo is. And it was just like, and then I had like probably like 10 shows booked there. And then the fucking pandemic happened.
Damn.
And it was just like, and they ended up, you know, that first few months of the pandemic, everyone's like just shuffling dates. Like, oh, the thing that was going to happen in May, that's going to happen in August now. Yeah. And then like by the end of the year, people are like, I'm out. We're done.
Now
We're
that
folding.
I think about it, in a really weird... I went to that show. Mm-hmm. That show happened and then the pandemic happened, right?
That would have been like December 30th, 2019.
So I was at that show. Kind of don't think I did much because I kind of did my like chill out January.
Well, nothing
thing.
happens in January.
Exactly. Pandemic happens.
Wow, yeah.
Then the first show I go out to see.
It's also
shit. It's kind of funny.
We
to think
also
about.
Humor, like there was also a funny aspect of like I think shit ended up playing like the last shows at like a number of we played the last show at Double Land. We played the last show at the Coffin Factory.
Yeah.
We played like there was a bunch of places where it's like if there was
too.
a building that was like maybe going to get shut down, we were like the fucking house band.
We know exactly.
We played eviction parties. We played all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
We played weddings. We played eviction
parties. But yeah. So yeah, it was a trip.
Yeah.
We were playing shows in Europe when like I was in England. We had just like done like a few shows in Europe, and I was in England at a cafe like on a Sunday with a friend of mine. We had just played London like the night or two before, and I like popped open my phone. I was like, oh, Northern Italy's in lockdown. Crazy.
It's not gonna happen here, but
Yeah, it's like that's weird. And then we got picked up at the airport with a band from like Northern Italy. So I like saw them that afternoon. I was like, damn, how are you guys gonna get home?
That's so fucked.
And then like by the time everyone's talking about it, and then it was like the week we were on tour, everything was fine. And then the week after, all the bands that toured on the other side of the festival, like you could see their tours, like it was like a fucking race against time and borders and like
to like get back to the
it's like we left the UK, we're gonna be fine, we're gonna make it to Sweden. Holy fuck, no, we're not. Like
it's
fucked
around
up.
and go back.
It's fucked up. It's fucked up time for everyone with music. But
I feel like on a
coming out
positive,
on the other end.
we've come out on the other end, and I think it's like, I don't know. I think that now, you know, I think that now that things have. We've gone past those sort of like weird summers we had where things were like kind of back. Like,
now it feels like it's like a thing. Like
it's just back, and it feels like we
for
can
us.
like for us. But it feels like, you know, it doesn't feel like like the novelty is now gone, and now it's just like love. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah. Everyone like it is a bit of a different vibe than it was before, and like. The world is like doing the cruel thing the world does and marching on, but it's like it's like the vibe it shows is like crazy now, and like the amount of people, like the thought of doing what we've been doing at Expo, where it's like almost, I think I've done like maybe like 8 shows there or something, and 7 of them have been sold out. Like it's like kind of crazy that it's like that's. Like at Sheebie-Jeebies, I would do a show and like 50 people would come. Or like 100 people maybe. Like there's a couple shows where like that were as big as the Expo shows, but now the Expo shows is like people want to be doing that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's kind of the same people every time too. It's like, well, there's more people, different people, but like it's, you know, people are returning a lot of the time, and like
it's I don't know, it's a hard thing to put your finger on, because it's like we're all just kind of still experiencing it, but there's definitely like this weird euphoria, and there's this weird like there's this desire for connection and community, and like people just want to be out and experiencing something. There's a lot of people who don't. Like there is a lot of people who don't go out anymore. Or not into it. I also stay home way fucking more than I used to. But it's like, I don't know, maybe it's that like when people go out, they want to make sure that they're like seeing something that's worth it.
That's worth leaving the house for.
I think we also, it's kind of corny, but like when we saw what sorry, how do I phrase this? We saw a loss of what we had, you know, and then we would learn to like appreciate all that stuff. And then once it came back, it was like, okay, I really want to do this the right way, not overindulge in it.
Yeah.
You know, go out every fucking night to every fucking show, but go
But yeah, like I'm gonna make
like have balance. you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Well, that's kind of the fun thing about doing, like, I have, like, you know, there were times last year where I had like 6 shows in a week.
Yeah.
But like with Expo, it's like we're not doing like multiple shows a week.
Right.
There's like maybe one a month.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple a month. This summer we'll see how it goes.
Right.
But like the desire is to like make it something that people want.
Make it special. Make it something like it. Yeah. I feel like it. There's something special about it. There's a special quality about doing the shows there, and from the way it's looking, I feel like there actually is a bright future with that place.
I hope so. I hope so.
At least for the next couple of years, like, you know.
Yeah. And it like that we're kind of doing it together where it's like this DIY space that's also like a vintage store, and it like kind of functions for both. Like it has afforded us an opportunity to like, I don't have to sweat like running a venue and putting like keeping the lights on 30 nights a month. And we don't have to staff it. Like it's the store does that part of it. And then the shows actually enrich the store and vice versa. And it's like, it's kind of its own,
you've actually
it's
found
a
the
different
perfect
model of doing things that like the city really isn't built to allow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we're just trying to navigate it as best we can.
But I feel like you found the perfect mix of, like you were saying, doing traditionally DIY versus, you know, booking at the Velvet or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of this nice little sweet spot.
It is. And like that's the thing is like we want to make it better too. Like I want to get a better sound system in there. I want to put like a little bit of a stage. So, because like so there was at that gel show I showed up late and this venue is packed and I got in, I was like, I can't fucking see shit. And I have the privilege of being like, well, I'm just gonna stand on the fucking bar then. But it's like I got in there and I was like, we'd been talking about it. I was like, we need to put in like just a little bit of a
just
like, give me a foot so that
yeah.
like I can like at least see some of the action.
Yeah.
you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's it's a wild little project and hopefully it goes on for a
No, I
while.
hope so too. And I guess the last thing, like, what else is next? What's next for the world of Not Dead Yet?
I don't know, man. It's I don't know, it's that like relentless pursuit of it, I guess. I've never really done this for any, like when I started doing it, it was like I want to bring bands to Toronto that I want people to see, like, and that's just changed. The bands have changed who they are, and I think mostly just continue to do that. Maybe bring this expo space to life a bit more in terms of like making it a bit more real. But like, I'm just living day to day with this shit. Like, I have a to-do list a mile long, and I just try and fucking keep up with it. Like that's it. Like people ask all the time if like the festival is going to come back. I think
That's what I was gonna ask. Yeah, because it started out as a festival.
Well, yeah, like I started doing shows under the name Stuck in the City, and then that was like a blog when people were doing blogs.
Oh yeah.
And then the festival started. It was like Stuck in the City presents Not Dead Yet. It was Pesci and I at first, and then over time it was just like, well, Not Dead Yet is kind of the thing now, and I just kind of rolled with that. And the festival ran for like 8 years, and now it's like I don't know. Like I get asked daily.
Really?
I'm not even fucking kidding. Like every day, somebody like I'll get a text message from like random ass people, be like, "Are you bringing the festival back? I heard maybe you're gonna bring the festival back." And it's like I do like a festival affords me the opportunity to like really stretch. On like the bands I want to bring here because it brings in enough money to like make that shit possible and gives people a reason and but I don't know. It's a lot. Like I could never do fucking 100 bands in 4 days again. That's fucking.
It
used to be nuts. He used to post the flyers, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ, where do I even begin?
And
like
how much? Did you have a team? Like how much?
Yeah, like there was a bunch of people that worked on it, and
100 bands in 4 days.
like like people helped out with it. There was like people finding people places to stay, coordinating like advances, making sure that like I don't want to say I did most of it, but I did most of it.
Yeah.
Like and there was always kind of like this rotating cast of characters around it, and it yeah, it was fucking, I don't know, man. Like I'd given myself brain damage.
Yeah, that sounds fucked up.
Like, but it was all like, eventually it would kind of, well, after a few years, it started to like book itself a little bit. Like
Right.
I would be like, these are the bands I'm going to bring. I've been talking to them for like years about it. And yeah, but yeah, then dealing with other people and it being an independent thing, like ends up getting really fucking hard. You start having to deal with like everybody else's drama with like the people they're fucking or whoever else. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's just a fucking, that part of it became a nightmare. And like, yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine because I've booked shows in my time and we booked a couple things together. And like, these are one-off events.
Gets easier when you do them at volume.
True, but it's just like, but I remember just like every time I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, what? Like, why am I doing this?
I
Like,
still get that feeling. Like, I'm not saying that feeling goes away.
Someone's like, oh, actually, like I forgot my cables. You got cables, right? I'm like, well, could have told me that. I'm just like, oh, actually, can you get me this? It's just like the stress of it. But then when it's done, like the reward of it is like,
I still have moments where I'm like, I read the rider like half an hour before Long McQuaid closes, and I'm just like, oh fuck. Like, dude, up until like
6 wedge monitors.
even a few weeks ago, there was this whole fucking thing. I did a podcast.
Oh,
like
really?
I promoted a podcast.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that again?
Truanon,
Okay. Yeah.
of which I'm a fan,
Uh-huh.
and I hosted their like live show.
Yeah. That was at like the Horseshoe or something.
He's at the
right?
Horseshoe,
Yeah.
yeah. And Brace from that show, he's like an old punk,
Yeah.
Sick.
right? Used to play in bands from the Bay Area. Used to write for Maximum Rock and Roll and shit. And there was like this kind of back and forth at the beginning about like their tour manager advanced with the venue and not me,
Right.
but advanced with like this insane question in the advance, which was like, can you guys get me a jerry can and a lighter and a tarp for the stage? And the venue reads that, and they're just like, what the fuck? Like, basically, I get an email from the Horseshoe that's like, what the fuck? And it doesn't have the advance package with it. It's just like, this request came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, haha, okay, cool. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And then it was like, no. This is not, they're like, this is not happening. There's like a whole thread. And then then the whole focus becomes on, well, they want to pour gasoline on someone on the stage and light them on fire. We're not letting that happen.
Yeah.
So everybody gets distracted by that. I was away that weekend, so I'm like trying to figure out text messaging everyone. And then I get back and I'm Truanon's that night. I'm like, it's all sorted. I've got the jerry can, just a little bit of water. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And then I get a call from like Nick, who's down at the venue, like setting things up. And he's like, they want to know where the projector is. And I was like, well, what projector? And then I finally see like the advanced thing and I'm like, fuck.
Oh no.
So I'm like trying to figure out how to get a fucking good enough projector to like
Yeah.
do a whole show with.
Jeez.
But yes,
But that's always the case. There's always something.
There's always
there's
something that you
always
miss. It's crazy.
So that is, you know what's next? Trying to figure that stuff out in advance. Like trying to like really like, that's the goal for me now, is to just like figure out, not to do, like I want to do more shows. Like I'm getting asked to do a lot of stuff that I really want to do, and I want to make that shit happen. So the thing I don't have more of is my time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing I'm trying to figure out.
Right.
Because I have learned that going hard makes me go insane.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes
Balance,
everybody
man.
go insane.
Dude, I just become a fucking nightmare for myself and people around me. So
Yeah.
it's like trying to fucking figure out what the balance is. Use the fact that like all this shit is like popular and people are coming to shows as like a way to like support other people who are like trying to find like a job between tours or between art projects and
Right,
stuff
right.
like that, and like make it use basically like Not Dead Yet to envision a certain type of future, continue
Right.
to envision
Yeah.
like the future I want for the city, which is
Yeah.
like more people being involved in like making shit happen.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal forever with this, is that like the joke I would make is that like it's the only way I get to see the bands I want to see is if I fucking book them.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's kind of
So
all it really is, and all it comes down to.
it's
and
not more fucking complicated than that. Like,
yeah.
it's,
And thankfully, there are lots of people in the city who would also like to see those bands.
yeah. So get a PA, fucking drag it to a room, learn how to do sound shittily. It'll be fine.
Do it
Sick.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, just do it yourself.
Do it.
Literally do it yourself.
On that note,
Hell
all right.
yeah.
Thank you, Greg, for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you for
This
having
was
me.
very fun.
This lark water was delicious.
He has to say that.
Yeah. Gun to his head.